Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So if folks could grab their seats and we can get going. Excellent. So I want to welcome you all here to the SpectrumX session. Talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing this morning, but as a way of introduction, my name is Scott Palo. I'm a faculty member at the University of Colorado Boulder and Associate Director for SpectrumX. And this is the Center Overview Update and Community Engagement session. So the goals this morning are really to orient and engage a broader audience. So those of you who haven't been engaged in SpectrumX, learning about what SpectrumX is, the exciting work that's going on in SpectrumX. So we're going to give a bit of an overview, then we're going to do some updates on what's happened over the past year, and then we're going to have a panel session with some of our directors so that we can have a Q&A about the work that's going on and you can get some of your questions answered. So that's what we have planned this morning. And one of the goals we want to get out of this is to build more collaborations with the community. So again, if you're not engaged in SpectrumX and you see things that we're talking about where you feel you can bring value, you're excited, it's a place you'd like to get connected, we want you to reach out to us. We're going to have networking opportunities so that we can talk more about how we continue to build this community. You saw a little bit about the agenda this morning. It's multi-track. So the first session we were in here this morning was a single track session. Now you can see we're in the 9:30 a.m. session. The area that I have blocked out in the agenda, there's verticals in the agenda. So you can see the DySPAN sessions. Today, Swift and SpectrumX sessions are joint. So we have the SpectrumX overview session, and then we have a joint panel with SpectrumX and Swift on spectrum sharing. And I'll talk a little bit more about the rest of the agenda later this morning. Next door, we also have the National Spectrum Managers Association meeting going on as well. And a number of those sessions are open and available for anybody registered for Spectrum Week to attend. We've also not packed the 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with SpectrumX sessions. We left some open space to allow you to also participate in some of the other sessions that are going on here. And if you want to access the agenda online, that's the QR code there. So you can use your phone to go ahead and access the agenda digitally. I guess I should have said that at the beginning while people are taking out their phone. So wait a minute here for everybody who wants to get access to that. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to turn the podium over to Nick Lanneman, who is a professor at the University of Notre Dame and director of SpectrumX, to give you a little bit of an overview of the center, and then I'll come back to talk about some of the progress and the really exciting updates that we have that have been going on. So with that, Nick, it's all yours.
Thank you, Pot. It's a joke. Anyway, so welcome everybody. It's exciting to be back. Our second Spectrum Week, our third major SpectrumX Center meeting in DC. So I'm just gonna kind of remind you of some of the things that we're trying to do in this Spectrum Innovation Initiative Center called SpectrumX. As Scott said, I'm Nick Lanneman. I'm a professor at University of Notre Dame in electrical engineering, and I'm serving as center director for SpectrumX. This is really a moonshot opportunity for research and education and collaboration. We were super excited about this opportunity when NSF put it together. As you probably know, a number of teams competed for this to lead this center, and we're really, really grateful to be able to have built the team with a couple of planning grants, one led by Notre Dame, one led by CU Boulder, one led by University of Virginia and also one led by Olin College, to create SpectrumX and to pursue this. So what is it we're pursuing? We're trying to create an academic home or an academic hub in the radio spectrum ecosystem. And we think of that as a really broad, complicated, often politically charged ecosystem, a lot of competing interests and different stakeholders, but nevertheless, there's a significant opportunity. Even a couple of years ago when this program began, there was a significant opportunity for academics to get more involved in this ecosystem and contribute their knowledge, their skill sets, and engage with the rest of this community. So we're not going to solve any problem on our own. From day one, we really felt like we needed to create these tie-ins, these interfaces to the other parts of the ecosystem, other hubs in the ecosystem, if you will, but a home for academics. And so that's really what SpectrumX is meant to be. And that's the vision that we've been chasing and the organization that we've built to try to get there. The broad vision for SpectrumX is that we want to work to contribute to a future where access and management of radio spectrum is more flexible, more data-driven, and more automated than it is today, and significantly so. That's cloud, AI, data, measurements, all sorts of capabilities that we have today that have not yet been harnessed to any significant degree over large scales. The closest thing we have is CBRS. AFC and Wi-Fi is coming along quickly, but we want to be able to do this with larger and larger portions of spectrum. Okay, and so we want to contribute to that. The other key piece of that is that we're going to have to create the next generation workforce. And so that's a very diverse set of scientists, engineers, lawyers, policymakers who can talk each other's language, who can work on problems collaboratively and address these challenges. And we believe that that's really going to contribute to economic development and global competitiveness, continue to fuel that here in the United States. So it's a big vision. And we're pursuing that with interdisciplinary and translational research, a significant focus on education and workforce development, which is why we're so excited to have so many students at our center meetings and at Spectrum Week, but also a significant amount of engagement with policymakers and collaboration with industry and government. So we're trying to do it all, which is, of course, a daunting task, but nevertheless, we're really motivated. We have a really large team. And what's cool is that we now have the capability to grow that team. And Scott will talk about that a little bit more in a second. As things stand today, this is our map of all the institutions involved in SpectrumX. We have 56 researchers and staff members that are involved. It's 30 partner institutions at this point, a number of collaborating institutions and industry and government that Scott will mention later. And one of our very important metrics is the number of students that are engaged at the undergraduate level, at the graduate level. Over time, we're going to start to track students even at the middle school and high school level that are getting involved in Spectrum. So these numbers, we hope that and expect that they will continue to grow. They've grown rapidly here in the first couple of years of SpectrumX, and we'll continue to monitor them and report on them. So really quickly, because there's so many activities going on, we wanted to take the opportunity to recognize the leadership team in SpectrumX. Not all of the leaders in SpectrumX are in this room at the moment because some of them are at DySPAN or other parts of the Spectrum Week and DySPAN joint events. But so we have a number of working groups, and each one is led by a director. Several directors are here in the room. Scott introduced himself. Eileen, I think I saw Mira. Munisha is in another session. Did I see Mike? There's Mike. I didn't see Bobby today. Bobby's nearby. Josh is here as well. Where did Josh? There's Josh. He just joined in. So that was good timing, by the way. That's how in sync we are as the leadership team of SpectrumX. No, but the mandate of SpectrumX is really broad, and so we created a big team, a number of working groups, and we really lean on leaders to take charge of their working groups and to drive them and to coordinate across the working groups. And so we're really grateful for that teamwork. These are the working groups. There are 8 of them. I won't go into all the details here, but basically each working group has primary responsibilities in terms of the activities that it supports and organizes within SpectrumX, and also the engagement outside of SpectrumX. Remember that ecosystem? We want to connect up and engage with a lot of those different stakeholders. Each group has its own set of responsibilities for that engagement. Let me stress that the newest of these working groups is our Facilities and Services Working Group. Scott is currently leading that, trying to develop that. And it's an important one because as we continue to move forward, we're thinking about investments, the next generation of investments in big test beds, moonshots, and et cetera. This is a working group where SpectrumX is getting involved in those conversations and inviting others to get involved in those conversations as well. One of the most important things we need is sound advice. And in fact, as part of our cooperative agreement with the National Science Foundation, we have to establish an external advisory board, or an EAB. And I would say this is one of the big signature accomplishments in year one of SpectrumX is engaging and convincing this set of folks to get involved as volunteers and help steer us and help provide feedback on what we're doing. Recommendations, connections, feedback on what we're doing as this NSF center. Dennis Roberson is serving as chair of our EAB, and Ruth Milkman is serving as vice chair. They are really trusted advisors and mentors to me personally, but also to our group as a whole. Ruth's administrative know-how and sense is incredible. So now we have a number of committees, in fact, that this EAB has formed that they're leading and pulling us along with them. So we're really grateful for that. We've also added 3 new EAB members recently, Gina, Vina, and I think Vina was here, but maybe she didn't pop into this room. She must have popped into another room, and Greg Roston. So this is, again, it's an advisory group that keeps us honest. They don't hold back. They provide us with really useful feedback, but they also make a lot of introductions that I think it would have been hard for us to achieve on our own. So we're grateful for them. All right, so I'm going to end with just celebrating a few high-level successes. This is how we kind of track the top-level stuff we're doing in SpectrumX. In terms of building a community, you have a sense of that, right? Spectrum Week has created the opportunity for us to have 317 folks registered in the Spectrum Week events between SWIFT, SpectrumX Center Meeting, and NRDZ. I've already mentioned the numbers of students and faculty researchers. We've had a tremendous amount of engagement with industry and government folks. And one of the specific mandates in the NSF solicitation is to broaden participation in the field. And this is something that we took very seriously in building our team, very seriously in developing the initial couple of meetings and working groups. And you'll start to see that. We have a number of new institutions and new students and faculty that have joined since we started the award 2.5 years ago. And we're going to take the opportunity to recognize those new participants here shortly. But we're really grateful for that. That's something we've taken very seriously. And we've had a lot of great leadership on that front, which hopefully we'll be continuing with. The plans is for that to continue with the folks from UVA. NSF wants us to be a convener. And so we try to track our ability to first of all, have regular meetings. We also have a series called the Radio Shop Chats, which engages the broader community on a more regular basis, roughly monthly basis. And then organizing events like this and putting the word out. And Spectrum is cool, but not everybody knows it, right? So we try to make sure that everybody's aware of how cool and intricate and challenging Spectrum is. We've had the opportunity to grow additional funding over and beyond the NSF funds that we originally were awarded. And then we're also starting to track the impact that we're generating as a center. So in particular, the standard academic things like papers and presentations at conferences, but increasingly the comments that we're filing in regulatory proceedings, we're trying to lower the barrier so that academics and students can make contributions on those fronts, which are otherwise not that highly incentivized in academia. The last thing I want to leave you with is that DySPAN is a very important conference to our community. We're trying to help make it more important to this community by bringing in non-telecom people. So we've worked with other IEEE societies beyond the IEEE Communications Society to make DySPAN a successful and, if you like, a flagship publication outlet for spectrum research. DySPAN is the highest attendance it's ever had this week, thanks to, I think, in some ways to Spectrum Week, so that's exciting. But over 20%, I think it's actually 20% of the papers that were peer-reviewed and accepted in DySPAN were generated by SpectrumX researchers. So that's exciting. that we're having that kind of engagement. And that's why, by the way, some of our leadership team and their students are over in those sessions instead of this kickoff session. So that's my quick overview. I'm happy to engage and answer questions about SpectrumX and give you more details about what we're trying to build, what we've already tried and failed at, where we think our successes are, and where we want to go going forward. It's a really exciting time in general to be in wireless and spectrum, and we're super excited that you're here and looking forward to interacting with you throughout the week. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Nick. I wanted to point out you didn't show off your Spectrum shoes, so you have to. Anybody hasn't seen them, you got to come by and check out Nick's Spectrum shoes. It is, and you're making it cooler for all of us. So thank you for doing that. Now I wanted to roll into updates, tell you what's happened here in the last year. I'm not going to be able to go into all the great updates, but we're going to go over some high-level updates, and I'm going to point you to some of the other sessions that we have going on here at Spectrum Week. We're excited to have new affiliates joining the center, so you can see the affiliates shown up here, and also some new institutions joining the center as well. And what's great is these new affiliates are also having an immediate impact. Mira has stepped in as the director of broadening participation. Prashant has stepped in as deputy director for the policy working group, and Eileen has stepped in as the director for the education and workforce development group. So, and you'll be hearing from Eileen and Mira here in a few minutes when we have our panel discussion. And we've also started engaging more formally with the NSF power platforms and looking at growing that relationship and bringing SpectrumX members to better understand the capabilities of those platforms and how we can be using them to support the work going on in SpectrumX. This is a subset of the researchers within SpectrumX, as Nick pointed out. We have 56 researchers and staff, 30 partner institutions, and 82 students. So this gives you an idea of the institutions and I would say some of the faculty and key researchers who are involved with the center. Oh, thank you. I got ahead of myself. Yes, I did want to mention, I wanted to ask anybody here that's a new affiliate or a member of one of the new subaward institutions, Ohio State, the University of Chicago, or Southern University, to please stand up so that we can recognize you here at Spectrum Week. Thank you very much, and we look forward to meeting and engaging with you more here this week, and particularly at our networking session that we have organized this evening. Thanks for the reminder, Nick. So as you saw when Nick went over the top level slides, we have a vision and a mission statement for the center, and we've broken those down into 6 key goals. And as we give the updates, what we're going to do is walk through each one of these goals and give you some feeling for how we're working towards these goals that we have. And so the first one is to create an innovation engine for convergence research in spectrum that integrates and scales the state-of-the-art and pursues needed breakthroughs. This is really led by the research element of the center. Mike Honig is our research director, and he'll be up here on the panel in a few minutes. And then we're excited to have Frank Lind, who's recently stepped up as the deputy director. And Frank has really been working hard to help structure our flagship projects that you'll be hearing more about. So the center started off with an organization where we had a number of research working groups and a number of project teams, which helped us get up and get running in the first couple of years. And we've decided at the end of year 2, and now we're into year 3, to restructure in our research direction, or our research infrastructure. And what we've done is, rather than having research working groups, we now have a research planning committee that helps look forward and helps us chart the course for areas that the center should be focused on and directing. And we have 3 core research communities. And so this is where everybody in the community can come and get engaged with SpectrumX. These groups meet monthly. We have, it's organized by a member of SpectrumX. We bring in members to talk about the research they're doing, talk about collaboration and how we can coordinate. And then we've moved into what we call flagship projects to really bring a focus to a couple of core areas that we have seen as being both critical and an area where SpectrumX can make significant contributions. And these 2 flagship projects, the first one is on spectrum awareness, and the second one is on scientific coexistence. And so these are really targeting making progress on these research areas over the next couple of years. So the flagship projects place a explicit emphasis on policy relevance. And so one of the things we heard coming back from our review board last year was that SpectrumX, as we're looking at our research, we should be thinking about how are we addressing key and critical areas of need with respect to policy. And so we've leaned on a couple of areas to help us define where we should be going. Serendipitously, the National Spectrum Strategy and the National Spectrum Strategy Implementation Plan was recently released, which provides road mapping to provide input on where to be headed. And so we've leveraged that in our thinking and in the developing of the 2 flagship projects, and particularly flagship project 1 on spectrum awareness is focused on sensing, building models, rights, data infrastructure, and around the area in the 7 to 8 gigahertz bands that were stated in the National Spectrum Strategy. So we're aligned and tied with the National Spectrum Strategy Implementation Plan. And you'll be hearing more about this tomorrow morning. We have a session on flagship projects. And then on Thursday morning, for those of you that want to get into the nuts and bolts, we have a planning session talking about how we're implementing those projects over the next few years. The second flagship project is still in the definition phase, and we expect that to become more defined over the next few months, and that focuses on scientific coexistence and really around addressing the challenges in radio astronomy and passive satellite measurements that are used as part of the weather enterprise. And for those of you that have looked at the agenda items for WARC 27, there are a significant number of those agenda items that are focused around these scientific use cases. So at a really high level, the Spectrum Awareness Project focuses on developing sensing and measurements and algorithms. This is looking at mobile platforms and developing new low-cost sensor platforms that can operate up to 18 gigahertz. Taking these into the field and doing scientific demonstrations. So part of this is working at the MIT Haystack Observatory to shake out some of the systems and to have workshops to engage students in building these sensors to get engaged and understand how they operate. And then looking at going and developing experimental plans outside of the development at Haystack. And then how do we bring this and make this policy relevant? Thinking about models and how these things get tied in. And then there's a lot of data infrastructure to get the data into the spectrum data system, and then making that available to the community for research. So if you want to be engaged and learn more about these opportunities, please join the flagship workshops both tomorrow morning and Thursday morning that Frank will be running. We're excited to have a lot of posters. We have 46 SpectrumX related posters here this week. We had a joint poster session in this room yesterday. I guess it was in the room next door yesterday with the NSF SWIFT program. And then we have the remainder of the SpectrumX posters in a poster session on Thursday afternoon. So we invite you to all come and attend. A significant number of those posters are representing the work that the students have been doing as part of SpectrumX. So please come and learn more about what they've been working on. So the second goal we have is to attract, engage, and prepare diverse students from middle school through postgraduate levels to pursue meaningful careers in the future Spectrum workforce. And this is really focused out of our education and workforce development team, being led by Eileen Yeaner and Anya Fourie. And you can hear more about what's going on with the education and workforce development sessions later today. We have a session that's going to be run, but to give you a little bit of a heads up, this is part of the broader vision that we've had all along with the center, is to create pathways for students to have both on and off ramps into and through curriculum that help bring students up to speed and better understand all of the aspects of the radio spectrum. This includes developing K through 12 spectrum-related curriculum, largely focused, I would say, grades 6 through 12. That curriculum has been developed, and it is the units have been translated also into Spanish and are being made available online. Working on both undergrad and graduate education materials, and so you hear more about some of the work that's going on there, and then of course the research experiences and a summer wireless school. So we have we're spinning up our research experiences for opportunities program. We piloted it, or for undergraduates, we piloted it last summer, and we're expanding it this summer. We're including students. We have a cohort of 9 students that are participating. Actually, cohorts, I think, larger than 9, but we have 5 students at Notre Dame. We're going to have 2 students at the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, 2 students at UCLA, and 2 students at UVA. If you want to learn more about the REU program, or if you host an REU program at your university that is related to wireless and spectrum, please come to the Education Workforce Development session, and so you can learn more about what we're doing and how to get engaged and align the efforts that are going on within the community. And so that session is in this room today at 4:30. There's also a summer school that's being developed, and this was part of Maria Zheleva's career grant, and so she was running it at the University of Albany for the last couple of years, and now we're expanding this to be a SpectrumX summer school and bringing on additional partners at remote locations to engage in the summer school, both virtually and at those remote locations. So the idea is, how can we take this summer school that's been developed and then expand it out and grow it to make it scalable for other partners, and so that they can have a local opportunity to engage. And so again, this will be discussed more at the education session this afternoon. So please come and join. So the third goal is to grow our intercultural competencies through center and broadening participation throughout the center, and broaden participation of underrepresented groups in all center activities. And so this has been a real focus of the center since day one. And we've had a change in leadership. So some of you may have remembered Tanya Ennis was leading this effort for the past couple of years. She had an opportunity to move up into leadership at the University of Colorado, and so we're now very excited to have Mira Habashi leading the effort from the University of Virginia, and Scott Barker as the deputy director, and then also Deirdre Hodges at Florida International University is leading our broadband MAPIS program that I'll talk a little bit about, which has been growing. So we're making progress on all of the 3 tracks of the effort. We have an intercultural competency assessment. There's an opportunity for members of the center to take an assessment to reflect on what's referred to as their intercultural competency and create an intercultural competency development plan. And we have a session on Thursday for all members to engage in that, and as a coffee hour to talk about IDP development. We're hosting a panel tomorrow on the digital divide that was organized by the Broadening Participation Working Group, and Scott Barker took the lead on that. And then this evening we have a session on networking with a purpose, where we'd like to bring together all the new members to engage with current members of the center and grow our community. The broadband MAPIS program was started about 1.5 years ago, and this was a program that's built around using an app that was developed by Monisha Ghosh and her graduate student. And it's an app you can run on your cell phone. It runs on an Android, and it's used to go out and evaluate the current availability of broadband resources and to verify against the FCC broadband maps. And so we have, actually it's now 5 minority serving institutions partnering in this effort. So Morgan State, Florida A&M, Florida International, University of Virgin Islands, and Southern University. And Monisha and Deirdre are meet with the team. We've provided cell phones to the students, and they've been taking them out and making measurements, and very excited about that work. The students have collected and analyzed data using the ArcGIS system, census data, and are learning not just about how to go out and make measurements and learning about broadband, but also learning about mapping tools and evaluating the data. They've been engaged regularly with the developer of the tool at the Dr. Mohammed Roshman, and he's been mentoring the students on how to go out and make these measurements. So it's been a great relationship there, and Mohammed has actually been terrific in mentoring the students. And so the team is now working on looking at a collaborative publication using the data that's been collected. And they have some posters here. So they'll have posters on Thursday afternoon, so please come and visit. We have a goal of unsurpassed coordination, collaboration, and value creation across industry, government, and academic stakeholders. So we do have partners in the government. Obviously, we're a collaborative research agreement with the National Science Foundation, and so John Chapin and Jonathan Williams at NSF are our partners. Additionally, if you remember, the National Science Foundation signed a memorandum of understanding with the NTIA and the FCC. And so we have collaborators and observers both at the NTIA and the FCC who advise us, who participate in our advisory board meetings and are providing us feedback and helping us also to think about, I talked about policy relevance. So what are the areas, not just that researchers think are important, but are relevant and important to our government partners. And I also want to point out at the FCC, Whitney Lohmeyer, who is one of the founding partners of SpectrumX, took a leave of absence and is currently the chief technologist at the Satellite Bureau of the FCC. And so she'll be, my understanding, in that position through the end of this year, and we look forward to re-engaging with her when she steps down. And that also, I want to talk about, one of the things we look at is our researchers getting an opportunity to engage with the federal government as IPAs and rotating. And so, Whitney's an example of somebody in the center who has done that and is, has really been successful. So that's a great outcome. We've also developed a liaison program with NTIA. And so as part of the partnership, Nick Lanneman last year, through a liaison with ITS and working with Charles Dietlein, developed a partnership working on education and workforce development. That program then expanded this year with the NTIA and the Office of Spectrum Management, and now we have 3 additional liaisons working directly with NTIA partners on topics such as AI/ML for spectrum management, 5G sharing, and value-based spectrum management. And so this again is, demonstrating the opportunity and the value of getting people in a room and helping to solve some of these challenging problems and connecting academics with their government partners to help work on those problems and bring new perspectives. And so we have a collaboration session on Wednesday at 2:30. And that session will be talking about the liaison program. So if you're interested, please come and join. When we originally started the center, like other centers, not only do we want to have an external advisory board, but we also wanted to have a collaboration advisory board. The original idea was this was, focused on industry partners to help engage with industry, understand their perspective, but also expanded to government partners as well, to think about other agencies who might help bring perspective to SpectrumX. And so I'm really excited that last year at Spectrum Week, we announced having 2 collaboration board members, and this year we've now grown to 12. So very exciting to see the growth there, and Josh, who's the collaboration director, has been working hard to engage with those partners and onboard them, and looking forward to meeting with the new partners that are here this week. The 5th goal is to serve as the balanced and trusted resource to transfer knowledge within the policy sphere, proactively address long-term issues, and reduce drawn-out spectrum conflicts. And this is led by our policy leadership team with Manisha Ghosh and Prashant Krishnamurthy at the University of Pittsburgh. And they've been very busy engaging with the center. We've filed comments in the last year on 7 different FCC dockets, either comments, ex parte, or reply comments. We've also been engaged in the NTIA National Spectrum Symposium and filed 4 responses to the request for comments on the National Spectrum Plan. Last year, both Manisha and Whitney testified before Congress on spectrum-related issues. This year, Manisha testified again before Congress on a hearing on spectrum and national security. So not only are we, replying to comments, but we're also working with lawmakers to help them inform them about the spectrum-related challenges we all face. And then the last center goal I wanted to talk about here was growing the visibility and reputation of the center, and to leverage all partner resources and streamline center operational efficiency and effectiveness. That's code for less administration, get more bang for your buck, right? So we've been very much a convener over the past couple of years. I think one of the unintended consequences was that we have a team who now can, pull together not only meetings, but help to convene across the community. So this was Spectrum Week last year that SpectrumX team convened. And not only did we convene Spectrum Week, but we also have an online presence on LinkedIn. We have the radio shop chats. We have events for the community, and really continuing to grow and engage with the community across the board. So for those that are interested in getting engaged, the easiest model is the affiliate model for individual researchers, students, collaborators, and advisors. And if you're interested in getting further engaged with SpectrumX after Spectrum Week, please reach out to us and we can talk more about what that looks like. We have t-shirts available. So for all of you that have seen the Coexist t-shirts, they are available. I believe they're out here at the registration table. Is that correct, Nick? So feel free to come by and get a t-shirt. What's that? Oh, at cost. So you're getting them at cost. So it's a bargain. If you want to get involved with SpectrumX, here's our contact info. I will put this back up again, but you can follow us on LinkedIn. And also we have our SpectrumX website that has information as well. So, and again, I'll put that back up at the end. So now what I wanted to do, we wanted to take a few minutes to have a little bit of Q&A with the directors. And what I wanted to do was invite up a couple of the directors. So I wanted to invite up Mira Habashi from the Broadening Participation Working Group, Eileen Yaner from the Education and Workforce Working Group, Mike Honig from the Research Working Group, and then wanted to invite up Nick Lanneman as the director. And so what we'll do is I'm going to maybe give them each one minute to introduce themselves, and then I'm going to open the floor up to questions from all of you. So you want to check that the microphones are on there? Good. All right. So maybe we'll start from this end, Mike, and if you want to just give a brief introduction to our audience.
Yeah, Mike Honig. I'm a professor at Northwestern University, Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. My background is mainly in wireless communications networks, signal processing. I'm also interested in the economics of spectrum management and policy-related things. Serving as the research director for SpectrumX.
Thanks, Mike. Eileen?
I'm Eileen Yaner from The Ohio State University. I'm serving as the new director for Education and Workforce Development for SpectrumX. I'm a professor at the ECE, CSE, and Industrial Departments at Ohio State. My main area is wireless communications, communication theory, and information theory. A little bit on machine learning, like everybody else, and happy to be here.
Nick, do you want to make any comments quickly?
I'll just add that I started in communications, and I continue to have a lot of interest in that, but I started in Spectrum in around 2008 when we were thinking about building a center at Notre Dame. And I was fascinated by the food fights at the time around TV white spaces and how the innovators were going to take away grandma's television broadcast. And so that made me realize at the time there was much more to these spectrum issues than just the technology. And so we've been on a quest to kind of develop a center at Notre Dame and now SpectrumX to help address that in a more holistic way.
All right, and Mira.
Hi, Mira Habashi. I can talk really loud.
But I think we have online participants too, so we might need. Thank you. Even if you can talk loud.
I can also talk softly. I have she, her pronouns. I am the Broadening Participation Working Group Director. I am also the Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the University of Virginia's Engineering School. I am not an engineer. I am a social scientist by training. And I study how individuals navigate spaces that weren't designed for them. So my research really focuses on intergroup relations, bias, and navigating bias, most often in STEM and STEM workspaces. So.
All right, so with that, I'm going to open up the floor, and I guess I want to ask members who are not part of SpectrumX if they have any questions you'd like to ask the panel.
Or new members.
Or new members, that's great. We get a microphone. So.
Thank you. So I'm Orup Puya from Wireless Security Institute in Idaho National Laboratory. So one thing and with the, getting started with shared spectrum is a big deal, not for US, but for the whole world. I think one thing we worry about is that we think that there is much more innovation that's needed to secure the sharing scheme, right? So I think that's at the heart of sharing. Anything that can be attacked or exploited in the sharing scheme itself can break the whole system. So what are your thoughts about your own focus, or what you're thinking about putting focus on that research event on securing the sharing scheme itself for shared spectrums?
So maybe,
thank you.
Mike, if you wanted to start, and then if anybody else had a follow-up to that.
Well, I'll just sort of resonate that it's an extremely important issue. It's among the current projects that we have. It's not. I don't think it's as well represented as it should be. There is some work on signals of opportunity and things like this to take a look at, but. I think this is something that we could definitely use some more help.
Anybody else have an additional comment?
I'll just add that over time, we considered whether or not to have a working group focused on security. Perhaps not surprisingly. We kind of focused on, there's the electronic warfare, anti-jam kind of resilience level, but then there's the security of the sharing spectrum management mechanisms themselves. And so of the two, strategically, we thought SpectrumX should focus on the latter. We are currently, as you'll find out in our flagship project, we're trying to build that new infrastructure and a community around it right now. I think securing it needs to be baked in as soon as possible, but we kind of have to know what it is before we can secure it. And so I think there's also a tremendous amount of resources being put into cybersecurity more broadly. And so figuring out how to tie these efforts together is kind of what we're looking for over the longer term. So we look forward to more conversations around that.
And then I think Mike had a follow-up.
Yeah, I should have added that we originally had a project team on enforcement, and a lot of that work was targeted towards RF fingerprinting. So we have had some efforts on that in particular. So signal processing techniques that look at RF sources. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Next question, we got one in the back here.
Hey guys, my name is Mike Cotton. I'm with the Institute for Telecommunications Sciences in Boulder. And I run a theoretical division there, and we have about 28 people. And I work hard to get new engineers into the organization and train them up. And I work closely with Nick. We work close on the liaison position. But one thing I haven't seen out of SpectrumX is kind of an internship program. There's a bit of there can be kind of a challenge in working with universities. I know that it probably takes about 5 years to train up a new engineer to be an independent researcher at ITS. And it's really valuable to get people working within the organization, and it's really the most efficient way to train them up. So I was just wondering if there's any plans to have a formal coordination on intern development with industry and government. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. I know, Island or Nick, did you want to, you have a comment?
I can take it if you want.
So thank you very much. This is this 5 year is something that we hear quite often, and that's actually one of the reasons why we're focusing so much on education and workforce development. We want to really shorten that time period. In terms of the internship programs, I believe we don't yet have something that's structured, but this is one of the things that we want to build up. We have a large academic team, and typically internships sort of traditionally happen sort of between the professors, students, and who they have a relationship with. So we can formalize that. That's one of the things we can do. I'm going to advertise again. At 4:30 today, we'll have a long listening session. We're going to gather community feedback. This is great feedback for us to actually start on a more structured effort on this.
I will add that every Spectrum-related job opportunity that we get an ability to share via our website or our LinkedIn page, we do so. We blast it out to the mailing list so that the students see it as well. So there is not a formal internship program in SpectrumX today. There's a lot of engagement today. And while we're advertising sessions, I want to take this opportunity to advertise the fact that we're trying to create a career fair here in Spectrum Week. So if you're looking for Spectrum talent, we'd love to see you at the career fair tomorrow at, somebody remind me what time the career fair is at.
3:30.
At 3:30? Not tomorrow. Tomorrow?
Yes.
There's a lot of events. So the idea is that we create the space and the venue where you can interact and engage with students and faculty, for that matter, directly. Emily, is there a 4:30 tomorrow, our first Spectrum Week career fair? I'll be at a table for Notre Dame. Hopefully some folks from ITS will be at a table too.
Can I
Please.
I would also say that everything that, Scott talked about as center updates, right, is designed to do exactly what you're asking, right, to shorten that training period. Starting in the 6th grade, right, teaching people about Spectrum, and then designing the REU programs, and then designing the summer institutes, right, and then having all those things means that they'll have a different baseline knowledge when they get to you, right? That doesn't mean we couldn't do more. I think internships are always a great idea, and I think the workforce development team would be really open to that. But I think if there's ways that we can have them, and we'll be talking about this even in our networking with a purpose session, right? Ways that we can partner with some of the center partners. The goal is to design programs where we have maximal impact for our partners, but also our partners are able to tell us what they need from us, right? And so I think you're going to hear a lot of the leadership talk this week about how can we serve you to ensure that you're getting what you need, but also that we're doing it correctly.
And then I was going to ask Mike, how many interns can you handle?
Yeah.
So you can come to the session this afternoon and let us know. So, yeah, Anya,
Thanks.
you had a comment?
Yeah, I just want to echo, what both Scott and Mira have been saying and Island, it's really important for us to hear exactly what the needs are from industry this afternoon, and government. Anyone who employs anyone in Spectrum. But I think also to really look at, how we build the interfaces in terms of channeling information to, government and industry. We are slowly, having over the last 2 years, there's not just, there's not only the students who are funded through SpectrumX, but we're also slowly starting to build up a really beautiful database of students, for example, through the REU programs, or who have interfaced with SpectrumX in some way. And knowing my colleagues at SpectrumX, we don't just work with a student for a year. We keep our eyes on them. We keep engaged with them. So it's a really great way for us to start, using that database, so that when we do get queries for, hey, I've got these interns, we're able to access that information. But I think we just need to look at the interface.
Great. I wanted to ask a question for Mira. So we don't have a broadening participation session called out, but we've integrated that throughout the program, with other sessions, with the coffee hour, with the networking session, with the panel tomorrow. But I wanted to ask you, what do you see as the challenges for broadening participation, and where are we headed to try to address those challenges and really open up the engagement?
Yeah. So this is what I spend my life pondering, the challenges for broadening participation. I think for me, the biggest challenge is always that the people I have access to are people who have had some kind of access, right? And so Scott, as my, Scott Barker, because there's Scott Palo, and they're the same name. My deputy director and I have a lot of conversations about the fact that, when we do things and we make sub-awards with our MSI partners, right, it is designed that they collect data for us, right? It is designed so that the students have an experience. But what are we doing to ensure that folks have knowledge of Spectrum, right, if they're not just collecting data, right? And so some of the things that you'll be hearing from us in the Networking with a Purpose session, and it's a really informal time for all our partners to come together, for all the team to come together to introduce each other, is that our hope is to address some of these challenges by creating increased opportunity, and I like to say broadening how we define broadening participation, right? Traditionally, we've talked about broadening participation as kind of partnering with MSIs or creating REUs or creating curriculum, but how do we do that in a way that serves our partners, right? And that we can learn from them and they can learn from us, right? To ensure that folks like at schools that don't have Spectrum capabilities, because that's what we've partnered with in the past, and I don't even know if that's the right word, Spectrum research capabilities is maybe the better way to put it. How do we serve them, right? To ensure that everybody has access, because the students that we're going to already have someone in the ECE domain who are already doing Spectrum type work, right? That's all we're partnering with. So we're taking those folks who have already had some access and giving them additional access. So what about those folks who will never have access? How do we get to them? And I think that's an educational broadening participation problem more generally, right? Is increasing access for those who don't have someone who can help them navigate the system, or who haven't had some kind of resource or access to someone, something in their environment that pushes them in that way. How do you broaden it so that it's so broad that everybody has access, right? And I think that's going to be the conversation that we'd like to start in the broadening participation group, right? How do we create these opportunities to ensure that everybody has access so that they do get to you and already everybody knows what Spectrum is, right? Like already everybody knows kind of some baseline level of knowledge about what we're doing, because as you'll hear in our digital divide session tomorrow, I think, as well, right? This is a problem that affects everybody, right? This is something that everybody uses and everybody should have access to. I hope that answers your question.
No, that was terrific. Thanks, Mira. Other questions from the audience? Yeah. I know if I wait long enough, somebody will put their hand up. Hold on, we'll get the mic.
Hey, Daniel Galanis. I also work at NTIA. I had a question about education at like the 6th through K level. I remember my experience learning about Spectrum, and it was all very complicated. So what kind of topics would you touch on for younger students?
So we have actually this curriculum. It's a very nice set of course, high level, right? I mean, 6 through 12, K, grades 6 through 12. So kind of high level, and I have a list of topics that I'm going to present in the overview as well. And I don't know if this was mentioned, but we also have translated those to Spanish. and we're working with University of Puerto Rico in collaboration to disseminate those. So they're not, none of these folks are gonna have mathematical knowledge, right? So with introducing them to Spectrum via high level and kind of trying to teach them why it's cool to learn more about it later in life, right? That's the goal.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I will say we had a program 2 summers ago where we had educators from across the country come and participate under the guidance of NRAO to give the educators some training and then work with them to develop materials that were aligned with their accreditation requirements. So we didn't want to have, a bunch of Spectrum researchers coming up with things that would never stick into the curriculum. So we worked hard to kind of understand how to develop those so that we would have educators who were defining those to fit into the metrics, and then they would also be the leaders in getting that infused into the curriculum. So,
Hey, Scott.
great. Yeah,
Let me jump in on that.
yeah.
So one of the things we're experimenting with, and it seems to be pretty effective, is start with what they already know. And so I've got a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old who desperately want one of these, right? So I open up the weather app and we check the forecast. And then I tell them about the fact that NOAA deploys satellites in order to help us get that information and inform that app. Or, we pull up Uber or Google Maps or whatever, and I tell them about GPS. So it's like starting with what they already know and then pulling them in a little bit and helping them understand there's a lot more going on.
Well, and realizing, that they already know a lot, right? Like they just don't know they know it. And that's what's so amazing to me about children is, my kids teach me just because accidentally they figured out something like on the Wi-Fi or on my phone or some capability, right? That the world has that I just don't know about because I am older than my children, right? And they already know so much. It's just contextualizing it more scientifically for them, right? And so exactly what you're saying. My kid, like when we ride in the car, he has to have the navigation map up because he loves to watch the things go by, right? Like he loves to watch how much time we have left, right? And so talking about what that means and how we create those maps and how we get that information, I think is, he already knows it's happening, right? It's just adding that technical piece.
I remember growing up being in the back seat just asking, are we there yet?
Right.
How much longer? Are we there yet? Right? I mean,
It's
it's
now a
great
little
solution.
dot on your screen.
Excellent. Other questions? We have a couple minutes left here before break. Yeah, got a question in the back. And maybe before we take that question, after this question, I'm going to wrap up. So I want to get the panel thinking. I'm going to ask each one of you to tell us, in your area of the center, what are you most excited about, right? So think about that, and we'll go to this question.
Hey, Alan Rosner with NTIA. Not so much a question, but plugging some of the work that we're doing. We were up on the screen there earlier, working with Kong Shen here at University of Virginia, in terms of casting out a roadmap for artificial intelligence in Spectrum. And we're really working to try to collect use cases here to help drive maybe potentially future research that needs to be conducted relative to artificial intelligence applications in Spectrum. We're so very interested because we're about to start a major effort to modernize all of our systems in the Office of Spectrum Management. We think this directly applies to us, but we think there's a lot of potential applications in research as well. So if you're here this week, talk to Kong, and we're very interested in potential use cases here. So,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, so with the wrap-up question, maybe I'll start with Mira, and we'll work this way. Or you want to deflect? But I'm going to give Nick the last word. So we'll go Mira, Island, Mike, and then back to Nick.
What am I most excited about? So I am pretty new to the center, and we are going to be recreating our seed grant program, right? How we partner with MSIs, how we sub-award MSIs to expand beyond just the broadband MAPUS is the hope. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about partnering with our minority serving institutions. I'm really excited about talking to them about what they want. And so what you'll hear at the Networking with a Purpose session tonight is that we'll be running a town hall for some of our MSI partners to hear about how we can partner with you and better serve you and learn from you. So that is something I'm super excited about. So I'll put a plug in for our 5:30, Emily, 5:45, Networking with a Purpose session. Please come by, talk to us. We'll be excited to talk with everybody about what they're looking for.
Okay, Island?
Yeah, I'm relatively new as well. Very excited to work with the entire center team and the community at large to try to engage for this education and workforce development program. We have a lot of different directions we're pursuing, but really we're building up a lot of the things that we as academics are used to working on at small scale at our, say, NSF projects, say a SWIFT project and so on, at center scale, right? So we're building this RU program, which we're calling RU Plus now, into a center scale activity with multiple sites, with students coming from all over and engaging the community. Same thing with our summer school program. We're going to be running it at scale. So a lot of things building up to scale to try to shorten that 5-year window at the end for the workforce development. In terms of, hearing more about this, I keep saying the same thing. 4:30 today. Please come and tell us what you'd like, and then you can go to the networking session for free food and networking. So thank you.
Thank you, Island. Mike?
Yeah, so there are a lot of activities in the center, which I'm not going to go into specifics, which I think are exciting, but I do want to mention what Scott pointed out in terms of the flagship project. So we're reorienting a lot of activities to in these two flagship projects, one on spectrum awareness and one on scientific coexistence, and these are going to integrate a lot of the activities in sensing, data collection, measurements, and also economics and policy. And so I think ultimately the real excitement is the potential to be able to actually influence policy by successfully implementing these flagships, and I'll just put in a plug for the flagship project sessions, which are when is it? Tomorrow and Thursday?
Tomorrow morning at 9:30 and Thursday morning at 9:30.
Okay.
Island, quick comment?
So just to jump in, another thing that's super exciting is for our students and the students in the community to engage in the flagship projects, and that's something that we're going to be building up.
Great. And last word to you, Nick?
What about you?
I get the last word.
So I get the. So as several folks have said, there's a number of really exciting things going on in Spectrum and wireless more broadly. There's a number of exciting things going on in SpectrumX. I think of it at a pretty high level of going back to that original slide where I showed this hub for academics in the ecosystem, really strengthening those relationships with the NSF, the NTIA, and FCC and industry so that we connect the academics to important work going on for the National Spectrum Strategy, going on for ITU World Radio Congress study items. There's a significant opportunity for us to change the culture of academic research and have public scholarship, genuine public scholarship that gets me pretty fired up. So we're just working on all fronts to try to achieve that.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Nick. And before we wrap up, just a little bit of final housekeeping. Talking a little bit about what's going on here during Spectrum Week. There's a lot going on with the 6 different meetings, and this just kind of gives you a quick overview again. If you want to get the PDF agenda, that's the link. You can see here we are on Tuesday in the SpectrumX overview session. At 11:15 this morning, there's a data sharing panel. This afternoon at 4:30 is the Spectrum Education Workforce panel, and then at 5:45 is the networking with a purpose. Tomorrow morning, as we've talked about, the Spectrum Awareness Flagship discussion, that's really an outward-looking, open discussion talking about what we're trying to accomplish, looking for community input. We have the Digital Divide panel tomorrow at 1:30 after lunch. We have the liaison model for agency collaboration we're discussing. And then I have the career fair at the wrong time. I guess you were saying 4:30, Emily? 4 o'clock. Okay, career fair at 4 o'clock. And then on Thursday, the deep dive into the flagship session, nuts and bolts, that's a working session. Everybody's welcome to attend. It's an open session. The IDP coffee hour, if you want to learn more about intercultural development planning. Then on Thursday afternoon at 2:30, we do have a closed session to SpectrumX members and affiliates only, talking about engagement with the National Spectrum Strategy. We have our second poster session on Thursday afternoon, and then we close out with an executive session. And then on Friday, there's no direct SpectrumX programming. That's when the Wizard meeting will be going on all day on Friday. So with that, we will convene this session. Feel free, if you have additional questions you don't want to ask in public, to come up and talk to us. We'll be here all week. Come and network with us. We look forward to talking with all of you, and we're going to take a break for the coffee break now. Thank you.